Hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. In this video, we've got Nick Viall explaining what went down with his TikTok video that exposed Victoria Fuller and her guy in the soft launch that was heard round the world. And by world, I mean our niche Bachelor community. So I'm going to get into this story right now. Do me a favor, follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. That's much appreciated. I'll be on Patreon at 10 a.m. today, patreon.com/Dave Neal. And don't forget, Bachelor Rush Hour is our new podcast. It is just crushing it on the podcast world. Bachelor Rush Hour, wherever you want to listen to podcasts. I have unique, original content every single day on the podcast. Go check that out. I appreciate all your support. All right, let's get into this story. So we've got this video here of Nick explaining the soft launch of Victoria's new relationship. It's a spoiler alert. I'm not going to give you any other warning. We're talking about Victoria and Greg Grippo here. Before I get into this, though, what the hell is this spider? I know. There's some arachnophobia going on out there. It rained in LA the last couple of days, which weird things happen when it rains. I don't know, my astrologists out there, if there's a full moon or Jupiter's rising, but do I need to burn down my neighborhood? What the hell is this thing? Look at this. Oh my gosh.
What is that?
Look how big that is. It's the size of a tennis ball.
Even the dog's worried.
Look at the dog. The dog doesn't know what's going on. Can you believe that? Does anybody know spiders? And is there a tarantula in my neighbor? Like, what's going on? Let me know, please. That's on Instagram. All right, that had nothing to do with the video, but I had to share. Let's have a listen.
Well, I want to jump into Bachelor Tea because you, sir, are on the top of my list. You were a little messy on social media over the weekend.
Explain. How was I messy?
I noticed first and foremost, you took to Instagram. You had a little dinner party with Serena and Joe.
It was more of some friends were in town. And we got back to...
All right, so he plays coy. Let's get into it.
Do you guys want to come over? And then it was like, do you guys want to come over? And then we had a bit of a game night. And then we ordered some John and Vinny's.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Love it.
You did post some photos and videos on your Instagram story.
Of my friends hanging out.
Correct, you did.
Uh-huh.
And then you decided to make a TikTok about it as well, which I believe you captioned soft launch.
This is like when a mom accuses you of going out drinking when you're a teenager. So you came home late last night. I did. Were you hanging out with friends? I was. And did you puke on the lawn? I most certainly might have.
Game night, yeah.
Of Greg and Victoria.
Oh,
I don't think you were soft launching game night.
I wasn't talking about them.
You were soft launching game night?
Sir.
You were soft launching the fact that you were hanging out.
Well, I'm not really speaking to any relationship status, but other than the fact that they are hanging out, yeah.
Now, of course, it's fun to see his producers call him out. It's all pre-planned. They have a production meeting. Hey, ask me about game night.
I mean, they were
Wait,
cuddling.
I didn't see this.
That was a cuddle.
Cuddle for sure.
Yeah.
And then they got on a
seem to be
flight together.
affectionate,
People photographed them getting on a flight together.
Oh my gosh.
It is, it is of the opinion that anything that doesn't happen on a show can't be spoiled.
Yeah, there were a lot of comments on your TikTok like, are you allowed to post this? And I was like, well, it's his life. And
So that is an opinion. I don't think he agrees with it. A spoiler is something that reveals an outcome of a show. So just because you're not revealing something that happened on the show, it is a spoiler, but it's also the biggest spoiler that we've got all year. So I'm done hiding it.
it's his home.
Yeah.
And the interaction that they're referring to has nothing to do with Bachelor in Paradise. I mean, I understand the implications, but it is of the understanding that it can't be spoiled.
You spoiled the show. It's fine.
If it didn't
No one cares. It's spoiled.
Can't be spoiled, but it can be soft launched.
Were you trying to stir up tea with the soft launch?
Hey, we have a guest.
Caption?
I hope everyone knows that I didn't do anything without anyone's permission.
Oh my God, imagine. They had like no
They're
idea.
like, wait, can you actually not?
Nick is like, my house, my rules.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Can we get this producer her own podcast? I really like her.
Sign like a press release form when they enter the...
I just think these style of headphones are so unflattering. Get them some in-ear monitors. Can we get that for Christmas? And can we get Nick's podcast in-ear monitors? You know, show off what you get. He gets sweaty and all that.
Listen, I will say I think people should pay very close attention to Bachelor in Paradise as how did we get here, so to speak. There are a lot of questions, as I said last week. I think the specific answers will be answered at the appropriate time, probably at some sort of reunion.
Cryptic.
So obviously Nick's already come out and said he had a reliable source that said that Victoria didn't cheat, which is totally fine. We've also got the reality Steve spoilers from Bachelor in Paradise reunion where Tyler, I think, accused, and again, we'll have to see how it all plays out because this is getting like fourth hand, right? But according to those spoilers, which were given to reality Steve from someone in the audience at the Bachelor in Paradise reunion, Tyler yelled like you cheated, and someone in the audience, I have from a different spoiler, yelled cheater and started calling her a cheater. His source was a journalist at a party told him that, you know, there was some connective tissue there. Nick's source, presumably, is Victoria. I've heard of people that are friends of Victoria coming to other people saying there was no cheating. So, yeah, it's just going to be one of those he said, she said types of things. But it's not one of those like, well, there's rumors. It's like you've got multiple sources from multiple angles saying these are the stories they've got. And then you've got Nick's sort of saying, hey, it didn't happen. So, of course, the truth is obviously somewhere in between.
I think people will be interested in watching.
Mostly to see me. I was there.
That's hot.
It's hot.
Front row. She was in the
I was
front
the front row.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll let Victoria Gregg speak on their own relationship or whatever it is on their own time. But I think there's a level of, I would imagine, from what I can gather, that when two people like really are excited about the potential of something,
When to become one.
and especially if it's a public, perceived to possibly have public interest, I think there's a lot of stress on how that might be received, and it can be even more stressful to hide something. And then ultimately, when it's decided, like, well, this has really nothing to do with that, you know, like, let's just get it out there.
So, of course, this is good information. We're getting great information. Stick around to the end because I'm going to play this full, like 5 more minutes of this clip here. But Nick's the closest person to the Victoria Gregg story that is speaking on it. So everything he's about to tell you, assume it's what he's either observed or being told first person from Victoria.
It's already out there. It's been out there. I think there's a level of, fuck it, we don't want to, like, this is our life, and I want to take control of our life type of energy, which I totally understand. And I do think, I think it'll be very interesting as things play out, you know, how people perceive this or receive this. I think it's a really interesting discussion in terms of in relationships and relationships not working out. You know, Johnny and Victoria weren't like really focused on this episode all that much.
My favorite piece of this video is the opinion of the guest that is here. And I don't have a better way to format this, but it's got to be challenging for Nick to have this tea at the beginning of the episode and have the guests sort of waiting for their appetizers to arrive. I totally don't know if I'd have a better solution like bring the guest in after. Sometimes the guest has something pertinent to say, but usually this is the part of this show that's fully focused on information he's providing.
We didn't see much of them, but I think we should pay close attention to conversations that those two have between now and the end of the season. And I think we should remember conversations they've had around being ready for serious relationships. Victoria's been very clear about what she's want. She's been very communicative with Johnny, very direct with Johnny about what she's looking for.
So we almost have like in the court of public opinion here, Nick providing the defense for Victoria, saying she set her boundaries for what she wanted. She didn't get it on Bachelor in Paradise. Then she had the ability to watch back Bachelorette and see that Johnny also didn't get there for Gabby. So obviously when you make a decision, her decision being to leave Johnny for Greg, and whatever the timeline or overlap is there is yet to be seen. But when you make that decision, you then start getting that confirmation bias to say, see, I was right. Did you see? He wasn't ready here. He was, this, that.
I think we should also remember where Johnny was with Gabby not so long ago.
There you go.
And the reason why him and Gabby didn't work out. Also, I think it's interesting to know that Victoria wouldn't have watched that she would have already been filming when Johnny's and Gabby's story was aired on TV. So if Victoria would have to hear from Johnny or someone else about that information, about why he might have ended that relationship. And I think it's interesting that those same conversations are coming up literally weeks later, and Johnny has a very different take. And this is all to say, like, I think it's just very interesting to see, like, I think the conversation is going to be something around, you know, like when you get into a relationship, and it's easy to want to position especially if you're excited about someone. You know, when you're excited about someone, you get excited, you want to be your best self, you want to portray an idea of yourself sometimes. We've all done that. You know, we've projected who we want to be rather than who we are sometimes when we get excited about someone. But when that person who's also in the relationship might, you know, as time goes on, realize that maybe, you know, it's not what they signed up for. And then when that happens, how do those both people in the relationship react?
So this is all fine. The question becomes, did she decide it's not what she signed up for and already had soup on the back burner, if you know what I mean? That's where you get into the overlap. Was she saying, oh, this dinner's no good, let me try to cook another dinner? Or was she saying, this dinner's no good, I've already cooked another dinner, let's go over there? It's a metaphor about sex and hooking up with someone else, or at least emotionally getting yourself prepared for the next person.
You know, and then the big question is, because I think there's always going to be questions around timelines and things like that. I told you, I heard from a very reliable source last week that there was no infidelity, but certainly I think the people involved in this relationship realize if you're going to move on very quickly and you're going to put it out there, questions are going to come up. But I think it raises the question, how long should you mourn the ending of a relationship when certain non-negotiables are clearly not being met?
I think Sex and the City said, right? For every week you're on the beach together, 1 week, you know, I don't know.
And when things are said and done in a way where you decide like certain boundaries are crossed, where you're just like, hey, I got the answer I need, and I'm sorry, but how long should you mourn that relationship? I think is a question people will want to discuss.
Yeah, and of course, I agree that it's tough when you move on fast that you are going to be looked at a certain way. I think this story definitely has more to it, more resonance than the story of John Hersey and Katie Thurston. That story, there was like, oh my gosh, you were friends with him, and what? Whereas the overlap here is playing out while Bachelor in Paradise is filming. That's the big difference here. So they're similar in some ways, but this story has way more sources talking behind the scenes, like, hey, something nefarious was up. Let me know what you guys think. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals. I'll be live on Patreon for some bonus membership-only content, patreon.com/Dave Neal. And as always, go to Bachelor Rush Hour to check out my daily podcast. I'm going to have way more about this story on Bachelor Rush Hour later on as we kind of discuss the he said, she said of it all. We'll see y'all in a little bit.